On October 5th, 2011, millions of people across the world paused. Outside Apple stores, candles flickered, flowers piled up, and handwritten notes thanked a man most of them had never met. His name was Steve Jobs. To some, he was a visionary genius. To others, he was a demanding perfectionist. But no matter the opinion, one truth was undeniable. He had changed the way the world lives, works, and dreams. Today, we're going to explore his remarkable journey, from a rebellious child in California to a pioneer who left an indelible mark on history. Steve Jobs' story begins in San Francisco, California, where he was born on February 24, 1955. His biological parents, two graduate students, gave him up for adoption, and he was raised by Paul and Clara Jobs in the heart of what would later become Silicon Valley. Being adopted was something that stayed with him his entire life. It gave him a sense of being chosen, of being set apart, and it added to his restless drive. From an early age, Jobs was curious, rebellious, and fascinated by electronics. He wasn't a perfect student, often clashing with authority, but he had an extraordinary ability to focus on the things that truly interested him. At Homestead High School, he met Steve Wozniak, a brilliant engineer. The two bonded over their shared passion for computers and electronics, planting the seeds of a partnership that would later transform the world. In 1976, Jobs and Wozniak co-founded Apple Computer in Jobs' parents' garage. Their dream was simple yet revolutionary: to make computers small enough and friendly enough for ordinary people to use. Just a year later, the Apple II became one of the first mass-market personal computers, changing the idea of computing forever. But Jobs wasn't content with just functionality. He wanted technology to be simple, beautiful, and human. That vision came alive in 1984 when Apple introduced the Macintosh. With its iconic 1984 Super Bowl commercial, the Mac wasn't just another product launch, it was a cultural event, a declaration that technology could be liberating. Yet as meteoric as his rise was, Jobs' path was far from smooth. His intensity, perfectionism, and sometimes abrasive personality created tensions within Apple. In 1985, he was forced out of the very company he had built. For most people, that would have been the end of the story. For Steve, it was the beginning of something new. He went on to found Next, a computer company focused on advanced workstations for education and business. Although Next's products were not mainstream successes, their software would eventually become the backbone of Apple's future operating systems. At the same time, Jobs made another bold move by purchasing a small graphics division from George Lucas. That company was Pixar. Under Jobs' leadership, Pixar created Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated feature film, and went on to revolutionize animation, shaping the childhoods of millions. By the mid-1990s, Apple was struggling to survive. The company was near bankruptcy, and its future looked bleak. In a twist of fate, Apple acquired Next in 1997, bringing Jobs back into the fold. With his return came a rebirth. Jobs wasted no time in simplifying Apple's product line and reimagining its direction. What followed was one of the greatest comebacks in business history. The iMac, with its colorful, playful design, captured imaginations. Then came the iPod, putting 1,000 songs in your pocket and reshaping the music industry. The iPhone in 2007 redefined communication and essentially put a computer in our pockets, while the iPad in 2010 opened an entirely new category of devices. These weren't just products, they were cultural phenomena. Jobs had an uncanny ability to see where the world was heading and to create devices that felt not just useful, but inevitable, as if they'd always been waiting for us. At the core of Jobs' genius was the marriage of technology and art. He believed that great design mattered just as much as great engineering. As he once said, design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. That philosophy infused everything Apple created under his leadership. But Jobs was more than the sum of his products. He was a deeply complex person. To some, he was charismatic, inspiring, and magnetic. To others, he was demanding, mercurial, and impossible to please. He pushed people beyond their limits, often in harsh ways, yet many later admitted that his intensity brought out their very best work. His mantra was to stay hungry, stay foolish, a phrase he famously used in his 2005 Stanford commencement speech. He embraced failure as part of creation, and he lived his life with a relentless pursuit of excellence, never settling for good enough. In 2003, Jobs' journey took a difficult turn when he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. True to his private nature, he battled the illness quietly, continuing to unveil groundbreaking products even as his health declined. He remained Apple's guiding force until August 11, 2011, when he resigned as CEO and passed the torch to Tim Cook. Just weeks later, on October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs died at the age of 56. The world mourned. Across the globe, people gathered outside Apple stores to leave flowers, candles, and handwritten notes. World leaders, fellow entrepreneurs, artists, and everyday users of his products shared tributes. It felt as though the world had lost not just a CEO, but a cultural icon, a dreamer who had made imagination tangible. Steve Jobs' legacy is hard to overstate. He transformed at least 6 industries: personal computers, animated films, music, phones, tablet computing, and digital publishing. His fingerprints are everywhere in modern life. Yet his greatest legacy might not be the devices themselves, but the philosophy behind them. He showed us that technology could be intuitive, elegant, and even emotional. He proved that following your passion and refusing to settle could change the world. As Jobs once said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Today, Apple remains one of the most valuable companies in the world. Pixar continues to enchant audiences with its films. And every time we swipe our phone, stream a movie, or listen to music on wireless earbuds, we are touching a world shaped by Jobs' vision. On October 5th, we remember not just the day Steve Jobs died, but the life he lived, a life of relentless innovation, uncompromising vision, and the belief that technology, when married to creativity, could make life more meaningful. Steve Jobs once said, "We're here to put a dent in the universe." And indeed, he did.